What we've done is we've assembled a panel. There's 7 of us, and we're going to speak on each of those goals. What's important for everyone to understand about goals is the simple fact. How many of you have heard of SMART goals? They have to be, who knows what that means? SMART goals. I'm sorry? Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. That's a great acronym, and I don't want to take anything away from it, but from where I stand, I don't care what your goals are. They can be dumb goals for all that matters. And a dumb goal is simply what?
Definiteness of purpose.
You've got to have a definiteness of purpose. And you must ultimately, or those goals must ultimately align with what you're trying to do in life. As long as the goals are, you can remain motivated enough to keep going and not giving up. And as long as you believe in your goals, they can be dumb. So don't get too hung up on whether you have SMART goals or whether you have dumb goals. The key is, do I have goals that are going to make sense for what I'm trying to achieve in my life? The last one of those goals, or one of those letters in the acronym, by the way, is believe. And when I talk about believe, I tend to carry my belief system around with me. You can't do anything in life if you don't believe in what you're trying to accomplish. And when I say believe, I know some of you may have looked on here and saw spiritual and thought, okay, he's going to bring church up in here. Not necessarily the church of it all. It's spiritual. I'm not talking about religion. It doesn't matter your religion. What matters is your beliefs. I would like to share a story with you about my own belief system and how it started. I was 10 years old, just learning how to swim. It was a beautiful thing. I'm in grade school, and what I learned how to do, by the way, is to glide across the width of the pool. Gliding the width of the pool. I was good at it. You know, the instructor told me, very good, Rod, that was excellent. You made it all the way to the edge. And I thought, yes. Well, I had an older cousin. He was about 15. And you know how it is. You want to hang out with your older brothers, cousins, and because that's the cool thing to do. Those guys are cool. We're going to go to the YMCA. We're going to go swimming. I'm excited because I learned how to glide the width of the pool. Now, when you go to the Y, you don't just go and jump in the pool. The session starts at a particular time, and there's a guy walking around with a whistle, and he's running things. Okay, men, on my signal, you're going to jump in the pool and have fun. But nobody can jump in until I give the signal. Okay, I can do this. Width of the pool. Wait for the signal. All right, on my mark. Gliding, gliding. Yes, I'm gonna make it. Uh-oh. I got to a point in this pool where I stopped gliding. What I didn't tell you is that because I'm hanging out with my older cousin, I'm standing on the deep end, 10 feet of water. But I knew I could glide. I knew I could make it. At this point, I'm panicking. I watch a lot of cartoons, and back then it was black and white on TV, by the way. And I knew that if I went down 3 times, I was gonna die. So I go down. I come up, oh my goodness, help me. I'm drowning. Go down a second time. Oh no, I'm gonna die in the swimming pool. I can't swim, help me, help me. Oh God, help me. And just when that happened, somebody pushed me. And when they pushed me, I discovered I was this far from the edge of the pool. Several things that I learned that day. Number 1, I turned around and I could not see anyone around me. That day I learned that the hand of God looking out for me, pushed me that extra step. I also learned that no matter what happens, you should never, ever, ever quit before you get to your blessing. You could be this far, and an extra kick could get you there. The last thing that I learned that was really important was the next time I jump in 10 feet of water, I bet you all know how to tread water. I bet you all know how to kick a little bit to get me where I need to go. But the bottom line is simple. I believed and I accepted God as my personal Savior that day. I was truly baptized by the hand of God. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, so I didn't quite get down 50 dreams, but I definitely have some in mind. Getting nervous at the top. So I want to introduce our next speaker. It's going to be Vincent Vecchione. Vincent Vecchione is a native of Baltimore, Maryland, and recently moved to Houston from Denver, Colorado. Vincent has 2 children, a daughter, Tasha, who is a freshman in college, and a teenage son, Tony. Vincent always believes in family first. Vincent is passive income specialist, a fantastic communicator, and a master motivator. He's a mentor to many and is always available for a cup of coffee and a chat. Vincent loves cool mornings and long walks on the beach. No, I'm kidding. As much as he loves teaching people how to earn an extra paycheck every month with his home-based business. He likes people who are positive, spontaneous, exciting, powerful leaders, readers, speakers, fearless, and passionate. Speaking to us today about family values and goals, help me welcome Vincent Vecchione.
Woo! I tell you, I don't know who she was talking about right there. The guy who was supposed to do this part of the speech didn't show up, so they asked me to show up at the last second. But I am an entrepreneur here in the Houston area, and about 3 weeks before Hurricane Ike, I moved to this beautiful city called Houston/Sugarland, Texas. Yes, you heard me right. 3 exact weeks before Hurricane Ike, so you guys threw a big old welcome party for me. Now, why does an entrepreneur who's divorced can get up here and talk about family and how to do what I do with my family? How is that possible? Well, like she said, I have one beautiful daughter. She's 19 years old. Her name is Natasha Cicely Vecchione. There will be a test on that later on. And my son's name is Anthony Tyler Vecchione. He's 15. And what I have discovered is you have a choice, a decision early in life when you have children. And I'll get into that, but the reason I'm up here today is because I have a story. And some people think this story is incredible. Some people think this story has value to others. And I will be sharing that with you today. So that's why I'm here. 10 years ago, maybe 11, I made a decision. And I didn't even know I made a decision. See, one of my wife's sisters had a husband named Kevin. This is a true story. And Kevin was one of those people that people looked at, including me, and said, "Oh my goodness, I could never be a father like that. I can never be that good. I can never spend that much time with my children." From the outside looking in, he was the perfect parent. Well, Jackie and Kevin got divorced, and before you could say something like boom, boom, sugar boom, he's gone. He moved to Pennsylvania. He's never seen his kids since. He has no relationship with his kids. And I made a decision that day. Well, I judged him. I'll admit it. And I was like, well, I can't do that. I would never do that. What kind of person could leave their children behind when they need a father and a mother? So I made a personal decision that day. And it had it was a very impactful decision a few years later I'm sitting in Denver, Colorado, and as a lot of you know, I have a beautiful ex-wife. We are best friends, and I love this lady to death. We talk every day. We do dual parenting still. It's not a hateful relationship. When we got divorced, we made a decision to have a great relationship because of our children and because we didn't hate each other anyway. So, my beautiful ex-wife comes to me and says, hey, let's have dinner. I'm like, look at me, Chris. I'm not going to say no to dinner. Right? So I go to dinner and she says, you know what? You know the reason we moved to Denver all those years ago was one of her sisters, Judy. And Judy passed away 2.5 years after we moved to Denver. So Patty did not have any family in Denver for 15 years that we lived there. And she had an opportunity to move to Texas, Houston, Texas. And all of her family lives in Texas somewhere. Nearer to Dallas, but Texas, anywhere in Texas is closer than Denver, right? So I had a decision to make. The decision was, do I fight her? Because you just can't leave and take your children with you. Do I go with her? Or does one kid wanted to stay with me in Denver, and one kid, the son, not to mention any names, was a mama's boy, and he wanted to go to Houston with his mom. Well, the decision was I was not going to separate the family, and I was not going to live 3 states away. So I'm an entrepreneur. I quit my daytime job in 2002. I was a financial planner. I worked in the Republic Plaza on the 52nd floor in concrete, and I worked in a cubicle about the size of this desk. And I gave that up. So you got to think about this. My whole life, financial life, is in Denver, Colorado. And I gave it up to move to Houston, Texas. I came here with nothing, zero, because I couldn't leave my kids, because I made that decision 10, 11 years ago. So, not knowing anyone in Texas, no one. I didn't know Mr. Rodney White. I didn't know Jan Paskowski. I didn't know Denise. I didn't know, I mean, half the people in this room know who I am, and they've had coffee and broken bread with me, right?
Yes.
Okay. Then Hurricane Ike hit, and me and my kids, we did some volunteer work. And here's what I'm going to tell you. I started a new business, and it's one of these little businesses. It's a pyramid. It's an energy business called Ignite. And the reason I did that is because I wanted a new challenge, first of all. And starting a multi-level business and not knowing anyone is tough, let me tell you. It's a lot easier when you have a big circle of influence, family, and things like that. But here's the second reason. A, I don't like having a job. I can't be told what to do, when to do it, how to do it. I'm just kind of an independent person because I've been like that for many years. Number 3 is I get to do what I want to do, when I want to do it, especially when I make money. So, for those of you who know me, will I ever make an appointment at 2:30 in the afternoon?
Nope.
Why?
You're with your son.
I'm with my son. He goes to Clemens High School. I'm there Monday through Friday, every day, till about 5 o'clock. We bond that time. You're not going to see me between 2:30 and 5 o'clock. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. 8 o'clock at night, call me. 9, well, where's Andre? 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm there. So my story is compelling for that reason. And it was a decision that I made without even knowing that 11 years ago. Now, the other thing that I figured out is, how do kids spell love?
T-I-M-E.
T-I-M-E. You better believe it. And my daughter and I, we're like this. Why? Because she likes to shop. I like to shop. She likes to go to movies. I like to go to movies. She likes adventures, like going to Galveston, going to Kemah, doing that kind of stuff. Close to my heart. I love everything she likes to do, I like to do. Now, my 15-year-old son was a little difficult. He likes to do hand-on projects, like fix things. So I had to learn how to use a saw. I had to learn how to do a doggy door. We did a doggy door. Fix the fence. He loves anything with power saws, tools, and stuff like that. Man, I didn't even own a toolbox until a year and a half ago. I don't know how to do this, but what I'm trying to say is, well, let me say that again. He also likes to read, so we read together. We do projects together, and Video games. I like video games. But here's what I'm trying to say. When you do time, how many people have been to a restaurant lately? Raise your hand. Anywhere in the public. How many times have you looked over and there's 4 people, a mom, a dad, a kid, another kid, and they're all on their phones doing this. There's no conversation. When you spend time with your kids, figure out what they want to do. What is it? I can't take my son to the movies and say, oh, we're going to have a good time. Will he go? Yes, but that's not what he wants to do. Ask your kids what they want to do, and your strength of relationship will build. It will build, I guarantee it. I don't have to worry about my daughter. I just say, hey, let's go to a movie, let's go to the mall, let's go shopping, let's do this. She's in. Hey, you want to go to Galveston? Yeah. My son, I had to learn what he liked. What made him get up in the morning, jump up and down, up and down, up and down. And just because I'm not the same, it's my job as the dad to facilitate my love for him how he wants it, right? So that's my story on that. A couple things I learned a few years ago is, you got on that paper, L, 3 L's. Look, listen, and learn. I'm telling you right now, when you look at your kids, or your wife, or your husband, or your mom, or your dad, whatever you have in here, I mean really look into their eyes, like I'm looking in your eyes. See them for who they are. Learn who they are. And I tell you what, I have learned more from my kids by listening to them. Believe me, your kids, especially your teenage daughters, especially your teenage son, they will tell you what you're doing wrong. If not, come over to my house. My kids will be more than welcome. They'll tell you what you're doing wrong too. But they will. If you have that open, honest relationship, believe me, they will tell you. But how many adults do we see? You'll do what I say. We all hear it. Sit down. Get on their level. This little one right here, look how beautiful that is right there. I remember when mine was that big. Get on their level. Look at them. Listen to them. Learn from them. What's the number one thing I learned from my kids is what? Patience. Look at me moving around up here. I'm not a normally patient person, but I'm a lot more patient than I was. Why? Because I'd probably be dead from a stroke if I didn't learn patience. On the other side, I can't recommend more than to study, teach, and the other one's missing. I left it out on purpose, and I'll talk about that. And what I mean by that is when I became a dad, I remember 6 months into it, my wife went to Las Vegas, Nevada with her mom for a little vacation. She had a cesarean, so 6 months, my daughter's 6 months old. I got to stay with Granddad and me and Natasha. And, you know, Pops says, hey, I'm hungry one day, and we get in the car, and we had the Kentucky Fried Chicken on the corner. About 1.5 miles up the road, I do an emergency U-turn in the road, and he goes, what the heck are you doing? I said, we left something behind. My daughter was sleeping in the crib. That's a true story. And I remember talking to my wife that night, and I said, this is weird. You know, you can let the dog out, you can do this and you can do that, but this Natasha never goes away. And I'm telling you what, it was like a brick hit me. It was like a cartoon. Instead of swimming, it was like I was the coyote. Boom! It hit me like a ton of rock, and I was freaked out. So when the baby came home, the book to what to do, how, what, when to do it didn't come with it. And my second story is, for those who know me, I didn't grow up with role models that you would be proud of. There is not one person. My grandfather was a murderer. My uncle, who was the other male in the house, was a drunken, drug addict, mean, violent person. So I had to teach myself and learn from mentors like the Rodney Whites, the Jan Paskowskis, the Marsha Caseys, who have these wonderful families, and I've learned from them. They might not even know that I've learned from them, but believe me, I have. The last thing I want to tell you is the modeling. I used to think that if I told my son this or that and this, that would be great enough. But I figured out real quickly, and boom, that they're going to copy whatever I do. It's not what I say. So we better be model parents. And I see the red card up, so I have to stop talking. But here's the last thing I'm going to say about this. Be or not to be. We must be parents who teach responsibility and how to be a citizen of this country. We are not our children's friends. That can come when they're 25, 26, 27, right? Give it up for everybody. Thank you.
And family is very important. I can attest to that. My entire family is here today helping with the workshop. But what I would like to do is introduce our next speaker. His name is David Deal. David is a native Houstonian. He's married, has 4 teenagers, 25 years selling business to business, loves Dave Matthews Band and NHRA drag racing.
Hey.
After a job loss in the fall of 2008, he did not want to return to the selling grind. After much research and a healthy amount of prodding from his lovely wife, Christy, he found USANA Health Sciences, where today he is an independent associate who sells nutritional products, teaches a healthy lifestyle, and uses shrink-a-thons to raise funds for nonprofits. Welcome, David Deal.
Thank you. My wife is going to join me, and she's going to speak with me today. Christy Casey, Deal, my lovely wife. And we are passionate about what we do. And I overlooked a housekeeping error, proofing the workbook. And so here's the page to put in your workbook that we're going to talk about today.
Yes.
Christy's going to start off, and we're going to switch back and forth, and hopefully you'll find some information that will have you come away with something that you believe that you can do about your health, something new that you didn't know that you could do about your health, and excited about taking some action related to your health, because it can well, we'll tell you.
So we're going to teach you things that are things you probably already know that are easy to do, but as Jim Rohn says, if something's easy to do, it's also easy
Not to do.
not to do. Exactly. So for example, we've always been taught to drink how many glasses of water?
8.
8 glasses of water, which 8 glasses of water times 8 ounces is 64, which if you weigh 128 pounds, that's perfect. But the true measurement is that you take your weight, you divide it in half, and that's how many ounces of water you should drink for your body. So it's different for everyone. It's not a true measure to just say 8-ounce glasses. So Mark Twain once said that the only way to keep your health is to eat what you don't want, drink what you don't like, do what you'd rather not. And we chuckle about that, but really the unfortunate thing is that that's how a lot of people feel nowadays. And it's really created an epidemic in our country. And health is a matter of choice, such as choosing to eat a healthy meal as opposed to a greasy cheeseburger and fries. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to look at you. Okay. Or take a brisk walk on the beach as opposed to watching TV. There's 4 legs of success in our Healthy for Life program, and the first one is exercise. So in your books you have exercise, so put a line through the exercise and put recreation.
Because who really likes exercise or the work, with the connotation of exercise? Recreation is so much more fun. When I was a kid, I'm very active into my adult life, but I never exercised. In fact, I didn't work out. A lot of kids, classmates were, on sports teams and they worked out and exercised. I ran low hurdles for a very short time, but I got shin splints, and shin splints are very painful. It's when you don't wear the right shoes and you don't stretch and you don't do some things, and you get shin splints. Well, I didn't run after junior high because every time I ran, I got shin splints. And into high school and college, the activity levels went down, and then more time spent, socializing and on. And throughout life, from time to time, I'd visit a gym, and I couldn't stand being in a gym with the air conditioner and everyone else with their earphones on, running the treadmill, and it just didn't do anything for me. I mean, it did feel good if I did the circuit training, but I never stuck with it because it wasn't fun. Mid-30s, someone I was close to ran a marathon, and her coach told me what to do in order to avoid shin splints. So I did that, and I ran for 10 years, and I don't get shin splints anymore. And that did a lot for me. It got me a lot of exercise. It helped my health. And two or 3 years ago, one of my high school buddies invited me to come to his house to work out, which I thought was kind of strange until I arrived to find this guy had the setup. I mean, he's got punching bags, pipes with rocks in them, sledgehammers on a tire. I mean, it was fun. And so I love to go do that. It's social, it's outside, it feels great, and it's not exercise. I say I'm going to gyms instead of saying I'm going to go exercise. Another reason exercise is really important is because if you're not exercising, you're not creating muscle cells, and muscle cells is where your body stores sugar for future energy. People think that they are too tired to exercise. Probably you're too tired because you're not exercising.
And they say that a sedentary lifestyle is more dangerous to your health than smoking. So, very important. And we're also going to talk about nutrition. So we have to take times out of our busy schedules to educate ourselves as to what we put into our bodies and the importance of that. And poor nutrition will lead to disease, which in today's society leads to medication. And so the worse your nutrition is, the worse the disease, and the more highly medicated people are. So Fort Bend ISD just came out with this really cool program called Strive for 5. 5 vegetables, 5 fruits, and that's the base of the pyramid nowadays. Now remember, when we grew up, the food pyramid had grains at the bottom of the pyramid, but that pyramid was actually put out by the U.S. Agricultural Department. So surprise, surprise, the grains were on the bottom. So eating as close to nature is really important to our bodies because our bodies can easily access the food that way. And if your grandparents don't recognize it as food, then probably you should avoid eating that food. Because processed foods, the nutrients have been stripped out in the processing, and our bodies can't break it down well. In fact, they break it down too quickly. And so it gets turned into insulin quickly, and so the glucose raises our blood sugar levels. And insulin is the fat storing hormone, so we don't want a lot of that. We want the opposite, which is cortisol, the fat releasing hormone, which is something you actually release when you're exercising. So another important thing about exercise. So when our bodies make too much insulin and it runs out of room in the cells to hold the insulin, our body creates more fat cells to take on the insulin, and that's how we get bigger and bigger. So supplementation is actually a really important thing in nutrition, and that's because our soils are depleted nowadays. They used to rotate the crops. They don't do that anymore. And so the nutrients aren't built up into the soils. So our foods don't have that same nutritional value that our grandparents' nutrition had in it. And so we have to do supplementation so that we're getting enough of the proper nutrients that our body needs to work at an optimal level. So the RDAs, I don't know if you guys know, that's the recommended daily allowance, but that was set in the World War II, and it was so our military didn't get scurvy and rickets. That was the minimal nutrition so that the guys didn't get scurvy and rickets, and that's still the RDAs for today, and that's really kind of ludicrous that that's the RDAs, because so you can't just go off your recommended daily allowance. It's actually much more higher levels on very many of the minerals and vitamins. And there's 1,600 vitamins on the market, and it's important that you know which ones are the best ones to buy, because there's a book called The Comparative Guide to Nutritional Supplements. They compared all 1,600 vitamins. In the book, there's 100 of the top ones because the other ones didn't even score a 0 on the scale. So the other ones aren't even in the book. So in that book, you can kind of look and see if your vitamin's in it and make sure that you're getting the proper supplementation when you are buying the supplement. So it's even important to know what to buy besides buying one. So taking a high